Well, we've been driving the Tata Bolt in office for about 2 months now. We've kept this car for about 2 months, and I've driven about 2,500 kilometers on this car. And this car has been primarily being driven in the city, and it's not been taken too much on the highway. So it really has lived most of its life in the city with me. Well, we've been given the 1.2 Revotron engine, which is of course a petrol motor, and you can choose from 3 driving modes. Remember, this is the engine which gets the eco mode, the sport mode, as well as the city mode. And a lot of people think that these modes are just gimmicks that Tata Motors has put into this car, but to be honest, these modes actually do work, and work very effectively at that. And you can generally feel the difference in the power as well as performance. Well, if you chose the Eco mode, as the name suggests, it is the mode where you get better fuel efficiency, but also remember that that's the mode where the engine really is very lazy to respond to any throttle inputs. So for better performance and for quick acceleration, the best mode to choose is the Sport mode, and there is a visible difference in the power delivery, and the engine feels a lot more eager and responsive to all those throttle input. It's also much more livelier in that mode and feels like a much more sportier car to drive. So the Sport mode is for keener drivers in this car. Well, the other plus point about the Bolt is the fact that it really does come across as a very well-loaded car. It really does come with all the bells and whistles. And one of the highlights of this cabin is the fact that it comes with a GPS-enabled navigation system, and it's one of the few cars, in fact this is the only car at this price point which gets this system, and it's a very accurate system for most of the part. And if you are someone who is driving back home late, or there's a lot of rain and you can't figure out where you are, then you can always dial in that address on the system and reach your destination without too many hassles. Well, the other plus point include the very strong and super effective AC, and unlike a lot of other cars where the throw of air isn't very powerful towards the rear of the cabin, the Bolt really does make sure that even the rear occupants are cooled in no time at all. Well, the Bolt is a very relaxing car to drive around town, and that's largely due to the fact that the steering wheel is very light, and the gearbox as well as the clutch is also very light to operate. So that means that if you are driving this car in chock-a-block city traffic, then you won't really be tired, and at the end of the journey, when you do reach your office or your home, you will be relatively fresh and have that little bit of energy left in you to talk to your colleagues or your family. Well, the ride quality on the Bolt is much better than most of its rivals, and it really does soak in the bumps at slow city speeds without any fuss at all. And even when you are taking this car on the highway, it really does feel very stable and confidence-inspiring, and that, along with those nice and meaty brakes, gives it a lot of confidence when you are pushing it at speeds in excess of 100 and 110 kph. Well, even though the Bolt isn't truly a keen driver's car, it is of course a car which is pleasurable to drive, and that's pretty okay for this category of car. Remember, most of these cars will be bought by family owners and not really by keen enthusiast drivers. So in that sense, it's a very good car. It's also a car which feels very relaxing and easy to drive, and goes with its nature of being a city-friendly car. Well, we've also compared this car to the class leader in the segment, the Maruti Suzuki Swift, and this car wasn't that behind the Swift. Remember, the Swift has been the king of that segment for over 10 years, and the Bolt came very close to being as good as the Swift. So that really goes to show you the amount of engineering and progress that Tata Motors have made with the Bolt.